You're listening to Heroes in the Moment. What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
And today we're doing our weekly recap 61.
Come on, baby.
And be sure to stay tuned towards the end for our Heroes Q&A. We have some awesome questions we'll love to discuss.
Some great questions.
So stay tuned to the end for that. So let's get into some news. We have a lot of news to go through.
Yeah, we've been slacking a little bit. And there's been a lot of stuff happening. You know, we're busy, but we still got you on.
We coming at it with it. And we're doing it in two parts, essentially. We're going to do a lot of news here. And then in our weekly news 62, we're going to continue with a lot more of the news we didn't get to cover. The first one goes with James Gunn's Superman. As it's getting closer and closer, it's really crazy to think about. It's only a year away now. But the first thing is Pruitt Taylor Vince has been cast as Jonathan Kent. I don't really know him, but I'm sure he'll be good.
I've seen him in anything.
Not that I know, but I'm sure it'll be a good casting.
Yeah.
And then Neva Howe has been cast as Martha Kent.
Okay.
But he put it as Martha Ma Kent. So I'm curious how it's going to adapt that story. But
Ma?
as we go, hey Ma, what you doing, Ma?
Ma, I'm just out here shucking some corn.
That's
right? They live with a.
They do live
on
in
the
Smallville. Yeah, old Smallville.
Why they call it Smallville? You gotta wonder.
I guess it's a ville that's small.
I never thought about that.
You know, that's just a guess.
You're spot on, Michael.
Potentially. Anyway, so that's some news for Superman. So it's really cool. Some other news that we've heard for Superman as it's coming closer is that James Gunn announced that Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, will be the next entry in the DCU as a film and coming out in 2026.
That's the first movie following Superman?
That's going to be the next movie after Superman. It'll be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's interesting. And Supergirl is Millie Alcott, we talked about in a former podcast.
Yeah, she's
playing
great.
Supergirl, and she's going to make her first appearance in Superman.
Okay.
But she's getting her own solo movie a year later.
I think that would work well, tying her into that first movie.
I think it ties right in well. Just to see her story and how it all connects, because obviously this is going to be an interconnected universe that's being built. So it's really cool to explore that in the world of Superman.
And I like, what James Gunn is prioritizing here. Like he's saying that this is essentially a Superman DC universe, and then we're going to expand from here.
Which is really
I like
cool.
it.
I do too. I do too. Next piece of news over in Marvel is that Blade is expected to begin filming this summer 2024 in Mexico. And this project has gone through it.
I feel bad for Mahershala Ali.
I do too. I feel very bad for Mahershala Ali.
Nothing but bad news we've ever heard.
I know. We've heard
about this
very
project.
bad news. They've just... It's been pushed out.
Fired their
writers.
It was
initially supposed to come out like last year or something, maybe even this year. But
apparently the actors hated the script.
I know
it
was
so
apparently
much.
really not good, and there's a lot of problems going in. But they're expected to. They've rewrote it and expected to start filming and redoing it. So I hope it's good. I'm still hoping for that Anthony Starr as Dracula kind of casting idea, which is just really cool. He would kill it, and also
literally in that role.
Oh yeah, and Kit Harington would be also.
My goodness,
return as well would be really cool
Snow.
Because we heard some rumors that Kit Harington wasn't even going to have a big part in Blade, which was stupid because they played it up like
they introduce him in the Eternals and then don't bring him back.
I know, so that would be dumb. So that's the news with Blades. Hopefully they've reworked and done better with their ideas. I don't know. And then we go over to our next piece of news. We got also with Superman, we got our first glimpse and look at David Corenswet as Superman. And you can kind of see it here. We're both looking at it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, there's been a lot of devices.
This is big, man.
This is huge.
This is really big.
I mean, obviously this is a battle scorn suit. You can see where it's gone through stuff. But I think I like the design.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the trunks. He's wearing the trunks. A lot of people are like, oh, he's wearing the stupid trunks. And I'm like, do you read comics? Do you like superheroes?
I like
He's always worn trunks, and that's his classic suit.
I like him.
I like it.
Yeah. I think something that I noticed that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, I think James Gunn chose this picture for a very specific reason.
I do too. He's smart.
And the thing that he's doing, he's putting on his boots, right? So he's already in his suit. He's sitting down. He's putting on a boot. If you weren't wearing a superhero costume, what would you be thinking about? Like getting ready to go to work. You put on your work uniform. The last thing you do, you sit down, you slip on your shoes.
Yep.
To me, the idea that I'm getting from this picture is that Superman is kind of seeing this as another job, as his duty.
Sure.
Rather than kind of a lifestyle. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think it's a cool concept idea that okay, this is his job. This is what he's doing. He looks like he's been to battle before, and now he's like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Because normally we never see a hero suiting up. It's bam,
Right.
they're in the suits, they're fighting a
Right.
bad guy. Here, the villain is already wreaking destruction and havoc on the city, and he's sitting there slowly putting on his boots.
But then again, slowly to him might be a lot faster
that's
than
true.
we
Yeah,
think.
they just got a really fast camera.
Yeah, that's true.
Flash
Which
is operating it.
this image of this portal is giving me very much Brainiac vibes. Are you feeling that?
What's that villain's name? There's
Bizarro.
yeah, is it Bizarro? Something
Bizarro,
like
the
that?
one that's him. A lot of people
Yeah.
are thinking that Bizarro is the villain of this movie, or I don't know. This could be Brainiac, or it could be Bizarro vibes.
That's his big old laser eyes coming out.
Yeah,
Of him.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But I think what this picture does solidify is that David Corenswet's going to be a daggum good Superman.
Dude, you know he's 6'6". You know he's he's 6'6".
Wow,
Corenswet.
Perfect.
He's the tallest actor ever. I think Reeves was 6'4".
Yeah.
But dude, if you've seen that picture, bro, he's massive.
he's
Now.
massive. Yeah,
So
he
6'6".
bulked up for this role.
A lot of people are complaining about like the part around his neck.
I will say that it looks a little weird.
Yeah.
but we haven't seen him standing up yet, so
Yeah.
maybe it'll look better
You know,
that
whereas
way.
Cavill had like more of like a dip,
Right, but I think he looks good. I think he looks like Superman.
Yeah.
and I think it looks like he'll be a good Superman to me.
I
Personally,
think he looks great.
I do too.
I
do too.
just think there's just a lot of unjust hate because people love Henry Cavill so much and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But you got to give this man his chance to shine.
You got to give him his chance, and
you
plus,
know.
I think it's a pretty good look, in my opinion.
I love it.
In my opinion.
So like I said, just the whole thing with putting on a boot, it just feels like a weird picture. So I really think he's trying to send a
And
message.
especially the idea that they're adapting the All-Star Superman story from the comics is
Yeah.
also very cool to see with that perspective. So we'll see how that goes from there. All right. So our next piece of news goes over into the brand new Batman show, Batman Caped Crusader, premiering on Prime, interesting
Yeah,
enough.
crazy. I wonder how much Amazon paid
I'm
for the
curious.
Batman rights.
I don't know, but he looks incredible to me.
Yeah,
in
40s.
this animation.
He has really pointy ears. He has a
Yep.
cowl.
Harley Quinn looks a little different, but I'm
Yeah,
interested to see how they adapt
Yeah,
her.
I think it'd be a good iteration of the character.
And then Catwoman looks super cool as well, and the whole idea. I think this show is shaping up. I mean, it looks almost like the original animated series, just changed differently. Which I'm excited to explore that. I love the idea of Batman and going back to the world and animation. And Batman's always really done well in animation. So
I know.
it'd be cool to see.
Do we
him
know
back.
anything else about this project? I think, like
I've
I said
heard good
earlier,
things.
I think it's set in the 40s.
Yeah.
They're doing like a timepiece. So to my understanding, there's no phones, like no technology that Batman is using.
I do know that J.J. Abrams is involved, but Matt Reeves is also involved on this project. as well.
W's. No, that's
So,
W's.
We'll
I
see.
hope Ackles voices him again. Ackles voiced him in that new project that just came out on
That would be
Max.
cool.
The Crisis.
Yeah, yeah.
Part 3.
Yeah.
I was watching the other day.
That's really cool. That is really cool. All right, so in the other world of streaming services, we have to talk about this is really surprising and really
this is crazy.
interesting. But Disney and Warner Brothers is apparently teaming up to start a new streaming service bundle that includes Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max.
That's huge,
That
man.
is massive.
For you guys, that's your DC and your Marvel
all in one.
in one place.
That's crazy.
That's
How is that
crazy.
approved? And is it going to be $30 a month? Probably.
Yeah.
But that is nuts. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, $30 a month is cheaper than
I know,
buying
than
them both
everything.
individually.
From what I was seeing, like the problem today, Michael, with the streaming services is that like there's just so many streaming services available that people are subscribing less and less, and they're pirating more. Like
Oh, yeah.
there's like 8 or 9 different ones out there. So no one wants to do all that, right? So
Right.
from what I understand, all these companies are losing money from the streaming services. So that's why they're teaming up. I mean, like, so you got these 3 mega, 2 mega corporations
Yep.
teaming up to combine their services just because people are tired of paying for 9
And
different
then
ones.
you have the other side, the competition, where apparently it's rumored that Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and Peacock will be doing
Wow.
the same thing.
Netflix, Apple TV, and Peacock. From my understanding, that's offered by like Comcast. So I think Comcast is offering it like to the people who are subscribed, like to their internet or to their mobile phone plans. But that one's huge too,
That
because
is
the
huge.
only really big one that's left out is Paramount, which
Yeah.
obviously their app sucks. Their
It's
app is
not as terrible as you think.
I don't really love it. But they have How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. But point is, it's weird, man, seeing the proliferation of all these streaming services, and now like you have Disney, Hulu, and Max.
That's wild.
Think of, you got classic movies, you got your Hulu originals, all that stuff, and then all your Max, all your big time movies, all your HBO shows. And the other side, you have your Netflix stuff. You have all your sitcoms, with The Office, Parks and Rec, and then you have those new Apple TV Plus originals. I think this is gonna start a war.
Yeah, no,
people are either gonna be like one of the. I'm
literally gonna start a streaming.
I'm gonna be on the Max and Disney side personally, but no, I think that's crazy, and that's big for us.
That is big. All right, our last piece of official news, which just kind of has gone into like just being DC, and then Marvel will continue in the next one.
Not much happening with Star Wars these days.
No, not much in Star Wars currently. But Mark Strong has reportedly been cast in The Penguin, which Mark Strong, I like Mark Strong.
Now that I think about it, Kingsman? He could have been a Penguin too.
He could have been a good Penguin. He could have been a lot of things. I think he's
I
really
love
cool.
Mark Strong.
He's
so underrated too.
He reminds me a lot of Stanley Tucci as well. I mean, a lot of them are. I think them two are very similar. But in The Kingsman, he's really cool. He's really cool.
He's elegant.
Yeah, he is.
He's so elegant.
He's very much. So that'd be cool casting as well. But that really concludes this portion of the news because we have a lot more coming into our next news. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned next week
because it's going to be more in a Marvel-centered basis what we're going to be talking about next week. So stay tuned for that. But now let's move on to Heroes Q&A.
Let's get it.
We're super excited for this
Part
one. We have
2, I think.
some really good questions today. And this is from Cbot.
Thanks for the email, Cbot.
Thank you for your email. So again, this goes to show if you have any questions at all and you want to email us or shoot us now, you can text us by just following the link underneath our Spotify. You can go and text us whatever question you may have. So please feel free to do that, and it'll be featured in this segment in this episode.
Yes, sir.
So Cbot says, I've been trying to start my journey into the comic book world, but I'm having trouble knowing which ones to read next. I currently have Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, Kang the Conqueror, Only Myself Left to Conquer, Marvel Zombies, Batman Year One, and the first Walking Dead compendium. So he's asking, so what is our suggestions for some comics to read? I will say that, Cbot, you have some awesome comics.
Yeah, this is some good. He got
Planet Hulk,
World War Hulk.
Those are two really good Marvel comics.
Batman Year One.
Batman Year One's great.
Is outstanding as well.
That may be one of my favorite Batman comics in general. Batman Year One is really, really cool to see, like just all that stuff to build up as well. And you have some really cool other ones, but some of our favorites we'll give you, Seth. You want to say something? I
really like I read this last year. Secret Wars obviously is big, if you're into Marvel. Essentially all these heroes, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Avengers, they're all thrown on this bare, deserted planet with all the villains too. So essentially they're just there fighting it out, duking it out. Galactus is in it, the Beyonder. It's got some cool storylines. It's a classic, but I would definitely recommend Secret Wars. And then over on DC side, Long Halloween. I think that's in contention for best Batman comics. It's super dark, amazing. Obviously, it spawned those two movies as well, but that's one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, some of my favorites is I love House of M is just an incredible one. Seeing Wolverine's kind of take center stage, and also Scarlet Witch is a good villain and a good storyline. And it's where like all these Marvel characters also come into place in this one. House of M is just a really, really cool storyline. Also, Days of Future Past in the X-Men front is also really cool. They did a really, really good job just seeing, Wolverine and all this stuff and protecting, this world and saving it from what's to happen into the future. And there's just a lot of uncanny X-Men. And typically, in my experiences, X-Men typically have the best Marvel comics that I've seen. Yeah. And then over in DC, Batman usually has the best comics. So, and Flash has some good runs. I like Flash Rebirth and some of those if you're interested in that. But those are just some suggestions that we have for you. The good starter comics, but you have some really good ones too.
You're on the right road, man.
You are on the right road. So, Cbot also asked another question. Let me see. It says, would you be open to doing a comic book talk section at some point in your episodes? Because whenever you discuss a movie or TV show, I wonder if it goes that way in the comics. So we kind of do this in a way. A lot of times, like most recently at X-Men 97, we kind of just loosely talk and be like, okay, this happened in the comics. This did that. Comics are just such a big, huge realm.
Huge realm.
I mean, it's impossible to read every single Marvel versus DC comic there is. There's just so many stories out there. But we do kind of mention like, okay, this does happen in the comics, or this is accurate to the comics, or if it's not, in most of our reviews, movie reviews especially, or even series reviews. But I will say some shows and movies that are really, really good and connected to the comics would be most notably X-Men 97. It's very close. I mean, obviously they've changed and made some liberties for television, but it's very close. Along with some other ones, Infinity War and Endgame do a good job with the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, which is also a good comic I recommend. But Infinity Gauntlet storyline, they do a really good job. Obviously making some loose changes because of rights, mostly is because of how they can't accomplish everything that they can do without the rights to it. And then also Days of Future Past and Logan. Logan is loosely based off the old Logan comic and most recently, and it's also does a really good job, as well as Days of Future Past does follow pretty well within that storyline with just a little change of liberties. So that's going to be my suggestions.
Yeah, that's a good
for comics in that way. So thank you for the question. That was really, really great question.
We appreciate it, man. Absolutely killer.
Absolutely. We really do appreciate it. And again, if you have any other questions for us or anybody, please feel free to text us or shoot us email or DM on Instagram. We'd love to have it.
We got you, baby. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. And as always, if you liked it, please let us know by giving us a 5-star review and a download wherever you listen to your podcasts. We have a new feature on our episodes where you can send us a message by just following the link at the bottom of our episodes. You can either submit your questions for Heroes Q&A there, or you can just shoot the breeze with us. Also, if you want exclusive access to our episodes, including additional movie reviews outside of our general purview and early access to all of our episodes, feel free to subscribe to our membership. Here is HQ. And then lastly, if you want to stay up to date with our new episodes and announcements, check out our Instagram at Heroes in the Moment.
And we just want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, we love you 3000.